So the skeletons coming out of the closet, James. LeBron James gets cooked yet again. No Hall of Fame James. I'm talking about in it. Open them bars, throw LeBron up in that prison. Fraud James. Wager James. This summer, I'm deciding to take my talents to the casino. Sports Bookie James. But according to media personality and podcaster Patrick Bet David, and please let's not say the word bet too loud because word just might get back to LeBron James and it could be very super triggering, ladies and gentlemen. But Patrick Bet David believes that it's a high possibility that LeBron James will not make it into the Hall of Fame. But here's what PBD had to say. And when I say PBD, I ain't talking about LeBron James, in which PBD means probably black and dirty. Probably black and dirty. Probably black and dirty. But anyway, here's what Patrick David had to say. But this article is per Yahoo Sports, and the headline reads, "They'll keep LeBron out of the Hall of Fame. Patrick Bet David thinks Maverick Carter's gambling ties could destroy LeBron James' legacy." The article goes on to say the FBI's recent investigation into illegal gambling activities in the RBA that led to the arrest of Hall of Famer and former RBA Finals MVP Chauncey Billups, veteran guard Terry Rozier, and former RBA player Damon Jones has opened a veritable can of worms. From the look of things, the controversy is far from over, with the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation asking the league to provide them with its gambling policies and complete list of its investigations concerning betting. It says LeBron James is mentioned in the investigations. Jones reportedly sold his injury updates to gamblers. However, businessman and media personality Patrick Bet David thinks it isn't out of the realm of possibility that things could get a lot more serious for the Los Angeles Lakers superstar if the FBI digs deeper into the scandal that has rocked the RBA to its core. Maverick Carter is the weak link. Although James is a divisive figure in the RBA, there's no denying that he has been an outstanding citizen in the league. Has he? However, Bet David thinks that his association with childhood friend and business partner Maverick Carter could potentially be a liability for him. It goes on to say the reason is that Carter admitted to federal agents in 2021 that he had bet on RBA games through an illegal bookmaker operated by former minor league baseball player Wayne Nix. The report revealed that Carter had wagered between $5,000 and $10,000 on an estimated 20 football and basketball games in 2021. In addition, he also claimed that he could not remember placing any bets on the Lakers. It went on to say on his podcast, PBD claimed that the United States President Donald Trump does not take lightly to those who besmirch his name, something LeBron did in 2017 when he called him a bum. LeBron James took the X, formerly known as Twitter, and stated, "Yeah, you bum. Steph Curry already said he ain't going. Therefore, no invite. Going to the White House was a great honor until you showed up, bum." Patrick Bet David said, "Do you think President Trump has a memory where he remembers everybody who called him out, who came after him?" Bet David said, "Do you remember what LeBron called the president once? Question mark. He called that president a bum. He said, quote, do you think if there's any ties, text exchange or email exchange of Maverick Carter asking Braun, you gonna play tonight? You not gonna play tonight? Do you think if there's anybody, if you put 10 names of people that know on any given night if LeBron's playing or not, where would this guy rank on the list? He'd be in the top 5, he added." Patrick Bet David went on to say, quote, "So if there's an ounce of anything on LeBron, do you think the FBI will go investigating LeBron? And imagine if they do. Think about all the black eyes athletes have had." PBD stated, "Pete Rose, the greatest hitter of all time, 4,256 hits. Did he ever make it into the Hall of Fame while he was alive? No. What was Michael Jordan's issue? Gambling? What happened there? Took a year and a half off to play baseball. So what would happen to LeBron? According to Bet David, it could spell trouble for him, his career, and ultimately his legacy. He went on to say, if this goes in the direction, none of those things will come as close to this as possible. And guess who will not go into the Hall of Fame? LeBron James, Bet David stressed. If there's a guy they go after that has immediate ties to LeBron, it's Maverick Carter. If they get Maverick Carter guilty by association, they get LeBron. If this happens, they'll keep LeBron out of the Hall of Fame. Holy S. There's never been a single person in the history of the RBA that's been banned from the Hall of Fame, he continued. And LeBron could be the first. It's just always so cringe to see LeBron James just trying to steal every player's shine. You know, he copies off of Steph Curry. And, you know, when Steph Curry was going back and forth with Donald Trump, LeBron James had to insert himself so he could get the glory and be talked about. But now it's all starting to make sense why LeBron James has been such an advocate and a huge proponent of owning a team in Las Vegas. What a coincidence. The gambling capital. He thinks he's slick like Rick. He thinks he's slick like Rick. He thinks he knows the system all too well. But it's starting to backfire on LeBron James. LeBron James is a betting man. So he figured, hey, if I own a team in Las Vegas and I'm no longer an active player, he can at least have inside information with the team doctors and know when players will play and won't play. That way, when he go to different bettors, he can sell it on the pretense that these guys aren't playing. No difference than what Damon Jones was doing with LeBron James. But LeBron James figures, hey, all my boys will be employed. The ones I grew up with, from the Rich Pauls, the Damon Jones, Maverick Carter. He even got James Jones a job with the Phoenix Suns, right? I'll have them do my dirty work and place the bets without me being directly involved. Which sounds kind of like, owning a sports agency company, but allowing your close friends, as in Rich Paul, to be the face of it, manage the players, and wait, watch this. Not only do we know when Anthony Davis is going to be out, who when I tell people I don't play games, I'm Anthony Davis, they know what I'm talking about. But I have prior knowledge of when the John Walls will be out, when the Ben Simmons, who was probably instructed to be a bust, and he sits out as much as he does. You sit out as much as you can. To the Lonzo Balls, who if he thinks too hard, Lonzo Ball will get injured. Draymond Green, who I'll do a separate video on, and these are just RBA players. Clutch Sports is said to represent over 200 professional athletes. But what does all these players have in common? They're all injury prone. I say with air quotes, which means that with that type of inside information, how many unlimited bets can I unlock and increase my chances of winning if I know these players will not play? And here's the kicker. Here's the cherry on top, ladies and gentlemen. Not only do I get a percentage of their lucrative deals, I can also force teams to trade these players because they can leverage not signing with them long term. So I could force whatever team that my client is playing on to be traded to whatever team that I'm on, and I won't be in another situation like I was when I was in Cleveland and nobody wanted to join me and come play with me in Cleveland. Because otherwise, I wouldn't be able to win another championship and placed in the same conversation with Michael Jeffrey Jordan. But the irony, LeBron James potentially being involved in illegal gambling, and we have Patrick Bet David speaking on this. Hilarious. But do I think LeBron James will be probed and arrested or found guilty? No. I think LeBron James is heavily protected by not just the media, but the powers that be in the secret society, the Boule, Freemasons, whatever may have you. LeBron James is plugged in, and that could be figuratively and literally, but LeBron James is the real LaFleece Johnson, the booty warrior, except he's the one who's receiving. But anyway, I think that all of this gambling conversation will go away within a matter of weeks. And the RBA supposedly investigating all 30 teams. LeBron James, he won't be found guilty, which means they're more than likely not going to do any strenuous or any deep investigations when it comes to LeBron James. he gets a free pass with everything and it gets swept under the rug and covered up. But Maverick Carter and Damon Jones, if this were to happen, Maverick Carter and Damon Jones know that they will be blood sacrificed, allegedly, if they were to snitch on LeBron James. So they're not going to snitch. And by them knowing that, that's why they won't snitch on LeBron James. But of course, the Le Cucumber lovers will always defend their glorious LeBron James and his so-called reputation. But the RBA, they created this monster. But this is why LeBron James is trying to push for the league to be able to make active players eligible for the Hall of Fame, because all of the dirt that he's done. He wants to be able to sneak in, and once he's in there, it won't be a situation where he's not eligible and will be banned from the Hall of Fame. He don't want to be another Barry Bonds. However, what is it that I think that will keep LeBron James out of the Hall of Fame? Me personally, I think LeBron James being caught for being on steroids, allegedly, in my opinion. 23, 24 years in the RBA, no major injuries. You've been in the playoffs since your second season of your career. All the miles and wear and tear on your body, yet you're saying you could play another 5 to 6 years? Let's wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. We all know what's going on here. And Donald Trump is definitely out for revenge. But I don't think none of this is enough to stick. I believe that they just wanted to expose how sports is rigged, scripted, and corrupt. But these are very powerful people. But I think when it comes to the steroid allegations and the steroid issue, there's no way around convincing people that you weren't taking steroids your entire career, allegedly.